Hello and welcome. My name is Nate from Video Games Recon, and in this video we're going to be covering my top 10 most underrated guns in zombies. First off, this list isn't going to include the Executioner or DSR-50, as I feel they were the most underrated guns within zombies. However, I feel that most people have come to their senses, particularly on maps like Town and Transit, and due to their stopping power in the later rounds are no longer underrated and underappreciated weapons. So there's no need to feature them in this list anymore. And like per usual, of course unless otherwise stated in a title, this video, like my previous videos, will focus on the Treyarch Zombies franchise as opposed to the Sledgehammer Games Exo Zombies mode. And as usual, this is all just my humble opinion and not a definitive list, as no such list can exist, as any list would be purely opinion based. Anywho, that's enough nonsense for now. Without any further ado, let's do it to it. 10. The Lightning Staff. This is a weapon that gets a bad rap for multiple reasons. The first being it's probably the least effective non-upgraded staff available. The second being it's one of the most difficult to construct and upgrade, and the third being it takes the most skill to use effectively. Now, this is in no way a bad weapon. It can chain kill similar to the Wunderwaffe, albeit less effectively, has loads of ammo, and like all staffs has the ability to revive players akin to the Kraus Refibrillator, and once fully upgraded has a solid charge attack on par with most if not all the other staffs. So it's not that this weapon is in any way bad. If you took it out of the context of Origins and placed it on any other map, it would be a beast, and only becomes unappreciated in comparison to the immense power of the Ice Staff's charge, the all-rounder abilities of the Fire Staff, and the get out of jail free card of the Wind Staff. And as such, although a great weapon in its own right, ends up being thought of as the black sheep of the Origins family. 9. The 5.7's Dual Wield. Although not the best weapons in the world, the 5.7s tend to get overlooked in the place of submachine guns or assault rifles. Possibly because a single fire 5.7 on its own is pretty weak, whereas the dual wield 5.7s have plenty going for them. A good amount of ammo, decent stopping power, incredibly fast manoeuvrability, and the little party trick all dual wield pistols have in that you can continue firing whilst reloading by alternating between pistols. On top of this, once upgraded, its power significantly increases, making it good at taking out zombies at least into rounds in their mid-20s, on par with many submachine guns and some assault rifles. However, the best selling point for this weapon is manoeuvrability, as you move incredibly fast with it as it's classed as a pistol. So perhaps not a weapon to take as your primary, but definitely an excellent secondary if you're running a train due to your agility. 8. The Ballistic Knife. On face value, this weapon doesn't appear to have a lot going for it, unless on low rounds, due to the extra points gained for knife kills and being able to replenish your ammo. However, this is one of those zero to hero weapons, as although unimpressive as the Ballistic Knife, once upgraded into the Kraus Refibrillator, although still underwhelming as a primary weapon, it has a very interesting ability, effectively making you the medic of your team, as now you can fire a projectile at an ally and instantly revive them, which has clutch save written all over it. Again, maybe not a weapon to have as a primary and near useless if playing solo, but for a team player this thing can be invaluable, especially if Mule Kick is available. 7. The RPG. Like most launchers, this weapon is loud, cumbersome and underwhelming. That said, this is another weapon that gets better and better the more you stick with it. Sure, not something to use in confined spaces due to splashback damage, but even in its standard form with Jug, Double Tap and Speed Cola, and if applicable, the PhD Flopper Persistent perk, this thing actually becomes fairly effective. However, where it really comes into its own is once upgraded, as the rocket-propelled Grievians basically becomes a poor man's Mustang and Sally, and I mean that in a good way, as it now has an 8-round magazine, 48 in total, also now with semi-automatic fire, and finally, when reloading, all 8 rounds are replenished in one go. and just like before, is even more effective with double tap, speed cola and PhD flop off. Keep in mind, firing this thing without jug is essentially suicide. That said, when being surrounded by a horde, spamming the trigger will wreck a train or buy you the time to revive a downed teammate. Very similar to Mustang and Sally. Need I go on? 6. The SVU-AS. The SVU is an awesome little sniper rifle that unfortunately lives in the shadow of its bigger brother, the DSR-50. I think this is the case mainly for one or two reasons. For example, that it doesn't have iron sights and is slightly more difficult to use with a tricky scope to get the hang of. As although slightly weaker, its semi-automatic fire and high fire rate more than make up for this, as well as its plenty of ammunition and impressive stopping power, especially once packer punched. And on top of which, ammo is readily available, as this weapon can be bought off the wall on both die rise and bury, and once upgraded and combined with speed cola and double tap, becomes a humble little monster that tears through a train just as good as nearly any other gun. So, that's the first part of my top 10 done and dusted. Click the annotation on screen or the link in the description for part 2 of my top 10 underrated Treyarch zombie weapons. Anywho, if you enjoyed this video, please help support us by liking, commenting, sharing and subbing for more BS of a similar nature. Thank you and goodbye.